Hey you guys, it is Andrea here at VW Family Farm. I feel like I have not gotten to see you guys in a while. Super excited to be spending some time with you today. And this is not a day I'm gonna be working. I've actually already done some work today, but it's a day I have had bronchitis for close to a week now probably. So this is the first day I actually am dressed and look presentable. And I'm on the mend. I have somewhere to go, but before I do that later, I just wanted to come outside and show you guys some stuff that's going on and spend a little time with you. And that's why we plant our gardens and grow our animals and all that. One thing is to just enjoy them. So that's what I'm doing out here today, and I just thought I'd bring you guys along. I want to show you some things we've had going on, like this right here. So those are all tomato plants. Emily and I transplanted those yesterday. It took us hours. You might think we're behind, but we actually did that on purpose because we're still having cold nights. In fact, one night a couple nights ago was about 40 degrees. Your tomatoes won't freeze or die. You don't have to stress if you've already planted them, but they won't like it, and they won't grow as well if you plant them too early. So I'm really excited about the size they are. I always get nervous waiting because I'm like, are they gonna grow or are they not? But they're coming along. They're looking pretty good. So I feel pretty good about it. And then when they get bigger, and they're gonna take off growing. And here's the weird thing, y'all. You could go buy some at the store that are already quite a bit bigger than that, plant those and these baby ones at the same time. And these baby ones are going to catch up really quickly because if they have optimum growing conditions, they're not going to have to struggle along, and they might even surpass them. So if you're a little bit behind like me or behind, just don't worry. It's going to all work out. So I showed you guys a few weeks ago planting some herbs. I was only gonna plant dill and let's see, it was cilantro and basil. I was just gonna plant those three because they're my favorite. Got them planted in there in that bed that you just saw, and you actually saw the demise of them as well, the chickens. The chickens are free ranging. They scratched up all my baby herbs. They're not bothering that massive amount of lemon balm. They could bother that and it wouldn't hurt me. I'd have plenty left to spare, but they destroyed them. So it's back to the drawing board. I'm gonna get some more. I'm gonna try again. I've got some netting that I'm gonna put over it. We had gotten an order in of some stuff from Grower Solution, and they're just kind of our go-to this year. We've ordered several things from them, and that I'm gonna take some stuff, and you'll be seeing that pretty soon. I'm gonna put it over there to protect them from the free-ranging chickens. I also planted celery that day. Let me show you it. It's actually living for the moment, and I've never been super successful at celery, so really excited about that. Not that I'm off of 6 celery plants expecting some bumper crop or anything like that, but I just think it will be cool to harvest any celery that I get. So a couple days ago, we got our first batch of meat chickens moved out to the schooner in the field, and we'll be showing you more of those later. But there were 600 in the first batch. We are expecting 800 more in probably about 2 days. And so those will fill the brooder back up. We will be back to having baby chicks again, and things are just rolling along. We plan to do 3 batches. We were going to do 3 batches of 800. It's going to wind up being a batch of 600 and 2 800 batches, so 2,200 birds if you're adding. And really excited about that. We've lost very, very minimal on this first batch, and they spent a couple of cold nights out in the schooner and very rainy nights after they got out there, and it's went really well. So really excited about that. That's going well. I'm out here in the front garden, and as you know, this time in my life, my dad's been sick for a while, so things are kind of limited on what I can get done this year, but I'm determined to still have a garden. We have a huge project about starting up in the back garden, so I'm just gonna be gardening out here, but this is still a huge space. I want to show it to you and show you some things I'm gonna do to make it the best that I possibly can, get the most produce off of this space to maximize it as I possibly can. So one thing I'm doing is I'm growing on this ground cover, or this ground fabric, or whatever you want to call it. That is one of the things I was mentioning, Grower Solution. That's where we get this. Super pleased with it. And so that's one thing I'm going to do to grow a successful garden up here, is not make my plants compete with grass. I want them to just have the best growing conditions they can. That means that they're going to grow on this. They won't have weeds growing up and competing for the nutrients and the water and the things in the soil. But I will say, this is not just foolproof. You just throw this down, throw your plants in, and bam, you've got an awesome garden. This stuff, you will probably, just in my experience, I've had to water a bit more with planting on top of this. So I just do want to mention that. Don't just put your plants on it and not water them, and then when they don't thrive, you're like, well, something's wrong with that. That method doesn't work, all of that. But you do have to be on top of your watering game. You may not have to water very much if you get a lot of rain, but you just need to be mindful of it. You need to have a way to do it. And you can do that any number of ways, from just a cheap water hose. Just, if you don't even have a water hose, just a bucket of water. I've done that before, that you just carry a little cup. You just water each individual plant. So how we're going to solve that this year is we're actually going to use drip tape. So I've already got it laid out here, and we got it also from Grower Solution, and we got some. So what we got from them was some ground cover and some drip tape, and then also with that, with these early crops that I just showed you guys, you're liable to have pest problems. Now I have one thing I want to tell you about that in just a second, but you're just liable to do that because they attract certain types of bugs, and then if you aren't on top of it, there's a variety of methods to get rid of them. They will eat your entire plant up after you put a lot of time and effort into it. So I'm going to show you a couple things I'm doing to combat that. But you can see I've got the drip tape laid down through there. I'm just going to go ahead and put a few pieces just in these early rows. I'm not going to put all the drip tape out because we don't even have all this planted. And you can see that open area, that's on purpose. That is going to be for things that I don't want on ground cover, like green beans and things. And I know some people do that, but I don't want to. I've done that before. I don't like it. I don't like, I just don't like having to burn the holes that close together. I don't like when they're done, then you've got to get your plants off of there before you can pull it up. I just don't like that. There's times I pull the plants and feed them to the animals, and there's times I till them back into the garden to feed the soil. So just for me personally, I don't want to put every single thing on ground cover. So I'm in the greenhouse. I'm sorry it's a bit loud in here, but one thing I am doing to combat the pests on the early things like the cabbages, the broccolis, the cauliflowers that tend to get buggy, and that is watering And this is just something I bought. It's just organic Miracle-Gro. I bought that at just a local store. Fertilizing. One thing I have learned is if plants like that tend to get buggy on you have sufficient nutrients to grow and grow pretty quickly, rather than dragging out into the hot months, you're still trying to get a harvest off your broccoli and cauliflower. They are cool weather crops. Your collards, your lettuces, your spinach, those are cool weather things. They should well be growing. If they're just sitting there, you need to feed them something. And that is the biggest help that I have found, is giving them the nutrients they need so they can come off before that pest pressure comes in so bad. But we have actually had aphids and pest problems in the greenhouse. I want to show you another thing that we did to control those with no chemicals. So you can see these things are huge. They've done amazing. Most of these are cauliflower, but we got an aphid problem. So Ben just ordered these sticky traps. We've got them hung. You can see they're hung around. They're on stakes. They're just all over the place, and caught a lot of these. Now there is some ladybug larvae in here as well that you don't want to smush and try to kill, because those will eat this. I'm gonna see if Ben can insert a picture of what I'm talking about, because if you see this, you don't want to kill these because they are your friend. But you can see it's going really well here in the greenhouse. This is where we've been sprouting seeds and doing all kinds of stuff. Just really excited for this gardening season. If you do get bugs, I wanted to mention that there's a frost blanket, and then there is like an insect netting that's a lighter version of the frost blanket. I'm going to take you in here and show it to you guys so you know what it looks like. You've seen it everywhere. We've used it for years. You've seen it probably, you know, other places as well. But you can always use that. You can put that on to keep the bugs from being able to lay the eggs and hatch out on your plants. You can also, there's organic sprays. There's all kinds of things you can get nowadays to spray that you can feel safe about, that you're spraying on a food product. But if you don't want to go that route, you absolutely don't want to spray, and I totally get that. There's so many things you can do, like the insect netting, like the feeding it and the watering it so that it will come off in a timely manner and not just sit out there waiting for bugs to attack it. So you can see this is some of our old, there's just different thicknesses of this depending on if you're trying to keep frost off or just bugs. And so I hardly throw any of this away because I can use scraps of this everywhere. I could put this on those herbs and keep the chickens off of them. I meant to show you guys something else that we got when we ordered, and that is these trays. This is what we put our tomatoes and things in, because we're going to have a plant and a meat sale here at the house probably May 7th on a Saturday from like 9 to 2 or something like that. And so we sprouted a bunch of plants that we're going to sell to you guys. All those plants you saw at the beginning were all tomatoes. We don't have our peppers transplanted just yet. We probably will do that before May 7th, but so we got, these are 4 packs, and then we got 6 packs, and we got just, let me see if I can show you guys. If you decide to sprout plants, and it's not too late, even if you don't have time to sprout your spring plants, which a lot of you still do depending on your zone, you might want to sprout plants in the summer for a fall garden. So I just wanted to show you guys this. There's these trays that are full of holes to hold your 6 packs, and then there's these trays like this. They still have holes in them where water can drain out. And then there's solid bottom trays, and that's what I've been using the last couple days since I transplanted, because those transplants are so sensitive, and they're just, you could just literally spray them, mist them, and wilt them over into the mud, and they won't ever be able to stand back up. So I've been using those solid bottoms to just set them in with the dry potting soil after I transplant them, and it will soak up from the bottom, and they'll stand right up and take off growing. It's really awesome. This is the drip tape I plan to get out. And you saw us use these earlier in the year. These are the discs for sprouting seeds. We've used those. These are the domes you can get with the trays, and to germinate your seeds and things like that. But this is what the frost blanket or insect cover or any of those will look like. It's just all folded up like a sheet. And there's a ton of it there because it's pretty thin, and it'll unroll and cover a big area. And that is a great option if you don't want to spray chemicals. You can spend a bunch of money on everything, or you can do things kind of cheaply. Like with the frost blanket, There's different hoops that you can put down so that you can drape that over. We've literally just found pieces of wire and stuck them in the ground and draped it over that before. Just things we have laying around. We're just the type, we will buy what we have to, and we will use what's already here for the rest. That's just kind of how we do things. But, you know, there's functional and then there's beautiful, and we fall somewhere in between because we want our place to be beautiful, but we also want it to be functional, and we don't want to wind up spending more money than we have to. I hope that makes sense. I thank y'all so much for spending a few minutes with me. I hope that you've possibly learned something, and if nothing else, you've seen kind of what's going on around here. I'd love to hear in the comments what's going on at your guys' farms and homesteads and homes and just in your life. I thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys on the next one. God bless.